joined here today with Scott Poore from the Walhalla Fish Hatchery. He is a fisheries biologist and also an avid angler. Scott, explain to us what kind of lures we're going to use out on the water.
Okay, Lori Ann, we have a variety of lures here that are available to us. And if anyone goes fishing or if it has looked at bass fishing, they can tend to get overwhelmed from all the different lures that are out here. So we've just laid some basic ones out here. Here we have our soft plastics. We have our crankbaits, our hard plastics here. And then we just have a couple of spinner baits. And just real quickly, we'll look at these and talk about them briefly. And one thing that you'll notice is that you have a variety of different body parts to these things. You have a U-tail here on the lizard that has its arms as you as well. And what that's going to do is these that have those kind of tails and those appendages on them, it's going to create a little bit more vibration in the water. Now here with the crankbaits, these are your hard plastic baits. And crankbaits are one of the easier baits to fish simply because there's not a lot to it. It's simply casting it and reeling it in. You can vary your retrieve and things like that. But one thing that you want to look at on crankbaits is the size of the bill. And what we've got here is we've got two, one with a very short, wide bill and one with a longer bill. This one here will be more shallow running. With that wide bill, it'll create a lot more wobble in the water and attract the fish, in that particular manner. If the fish tend to be suspended a little bit deeper and not near the surface, you can go with a crankbait like this. This one here is called a deep little N, and it'll get down 8 to 10 feet, whereas this one may be 0 to 3 feet. And what you got to do is when you're out fishing, you're trying to target where are the bass located. Are they going to be near the surface? Or are they going to be in deeper water? Of course, in warmer months like we have today, you might want to throw a crankbait that's going to dive a little bit deeper. Another popular bait is a swim bait. They make them in a soft plastic version, but this one's hard plastic and it's jointed. And just like the crankbait, it's going to mimic a bait fish. And that's all we're trying to do is target what particular bait may be occurring in the body of water that we're fishing. This one here looks very similar, very realistic to a bait fish as it's pulled through the water, and of course the retrieves vary depending on what the fish wants. These two here are spinner baits, and they as well are going to mimic bait fish. And what it does is we have different blades on these, and it depends on the water clarity, time of day as well. This is a willow leaf blade on the spinner bait with a Colorado on top, and as it goes through the water, it's going to create a lot of flash, and all it's doing is trying to mimic a group of bait fish together as we're reeling it through the water. But this is just sort of a very small snapshot of some of the lures that are available to bass fishermen. Having said that about all these different techniques that we looked at, we're merely scratching the surface here this morning as we look at some of these different lures and these different worms. But as far as these soft plastics go, there is a variety of ways that they can be rigged out on the water.
If you visit your local bait and tackle shops, ask what lures you need, what techniques are for catching those fish, get out on the water and practice. That's all it takes, and we will catch you guys next time.